Hello, dear learners from around the world. This is Dean Sanjeev Kagram of the Thunderbird School of Global Management, bringing to you our courses and modules on global leadership and personal development for the 21st century. It's part of our Francis and Dion Najafi 100 Million Learners Initiative. And whether you're someone just getting started, someone who already has a high school diploma or an undergraduate degree, or even beyond that, advanced graduate or doctoral person with lots of years of experience, this is still a leadership course that can help you become more effective and be more empowered and more successful in your professional life. So what is our purpose here today in terms of global leadership and personal development? It is to empower learners and professionals like all of us, including me, around the world to be ethical, creative, agile, and effective leaders under 4 critical contextual conditions. The first is we live in a world, sadly, of creative tension or even more, sometimes very violent set of tensions between globalism and anti-globalism, globalisms and parochialisms and nationalisms. Now, not all of this has to necessarily be negative. We can be very positively inclined to have a view about our countries, our societies, have a positive nationalism. But when that starts to break us apart and separate us, that's when it's very difficult. And so what we really do want to have is an inclusive and sustainable globalism. And that's the type of leader that we want to all become to help to bring the world together. A second critical contextual condition is the 4th Industrial Revolution, the rise of 12 or more technology sets that are really transforming who we are, what we do, our businesses, our enterprises, our societies, our governments, our natural environments. It's always the case for us at Thunderbird, the Thunderbird School of Global Management, that we think about culture in a very deep and profound way. Leadership is not the same across different cultures, whether that's cultures at the level of communities, of countries, of organizations, of networks. Culture matters to everything that who we are and what we do, and certainly to being an effective and ethical leader. And all of this is in this planetary moment called the Anthropocene, where we as human beings have really just transformed every ecosystem, every piece of our environmental surroundings. And so themes like sustainability, environmental, social, and governance, circular economy have risen to the fore. Then, if you bring this all together, our goal for these modules and courses is for learners like yourselves and professionals like me, all of us, across regions from all over the world, different cultures, different genders, different races, different ethnicities, different sexuality, all of us to have digital global mindsets and skill sets that are contextual, that are appropriate to where we are, but also have a perspective of the broader world around us, the planet beyond us, and perhaps even interplanetary, to be successful leaders in this 21st century. Now, what do we mean by these digital global mindsets and skill sets? We mean these types of characteristics: being a lifelong learner, having a global mindset, a global perspective, even if you're running a micro enterprise in a small community anywhere on the world, a global mindset, a global perspective, an ability to see what's possible creates possibilities, being adaptable and certainly creative as the 4th Industrial Revolution, AI and automation, increasingly take away rote, professional activities like simple accounting and so forth and so on. Having an interdisciplinary or sort of multidisciplinary approach, being able to draw on economics, being able to draw on management, being able to draw on engineering, all these different types of tools and capabilities. Being empathetic and mindful, compassionate of difference, of others, and how we can mobilize the best in our enterprises, whether they be small and even micro, to medium, to large, to global and multinational, in the private sector, in the public sector, in the nonprofit sector, whether they be you're just leading teams, not just, because teams are really the centerpiece of everything that we do in the model world. Being a creative problem solver is really critical, and having that entrepreneurial and innovative capabilities. Really, that's why we have these courses, these certificates, these modules on global leadership management, entrepreneurship, and innovation. So just to remind us of the context, globalism challenges. We are in arguably what's called the 4th wave of globalization, although when we look around at our world, there's strife, there's war, there's tension, there's conflicts of all kinds, and we're not really bringing the world together more inclusively, equitably, and sustainably. Now, nonetheless, globalization, the last wave of globalization, Globalization 3.0, which was basically from 1981 to 2015, led to the rising of more than 1.2 billion people out of extreme poverty. That was remarkable. At the same time, we had more inequality around the world, and we certainly had other challenges. So progress was not even and equally distributed, and that's why we need this new generation of global leaders and managers, professionals with these digital global mindsets, these capabilities, to be able to make this next wave of globalism and globalization even more inclusive and sustainable. As we discussed earlier, and in the preview to these courses and modules, we are in this incredible moment in planetary history called the Anthropocene. And you can see that very small little sliver at the bottom right of your screen where he says, you are here, we are here. The planet has been around for millions of years, as we see. But we have been the dominant species, the dominant drivers for a very small period. And so therefore, it's also our responsibility and obligation to steward this precious planet that we're on and the leadership that we exercise. Again, in our organizations, whether they be small or massive, whether they be in the private sector, the public sector, the NGO, civil society sector, academic institutions like ours, we all have a responsibility in terms of stewarding the planet. And we are in this incredible moment called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Some people call it the fifth wave of innovation. Really what we're talking about is this profound economic, social, political, cultural transformations that are underway, driven largely by, but not solely by, new technologies. New technologies like the ones we had previously, but even greater, more intense, more interacting, faster, bigger, more comprehensive in many ways. We'll come back to those technologies. I just want to review, though, that the world is a very vast place, and you may be a learner in a village, in a certain part of the world with very little access to some of these technologies. You may be a learner in one of the global cities that is at the front edge of these technologies. That's part of the unequal distribution and inequality that we want to transform with this 100 million learners and with the leadership skill sets and mindsets, global leadership skill sets and mindsets that are part of this program. Remember that there are still those living in and working in the first industrial revolution. I've been at that place myself in my personal professional development journey, working in villages and towns, small towns around the world, where you really were very much where we might have been in the 17 or 1800s in some parts of the world, where there's very little access to energy or electricity, water, and so frugal innovation and being able to maximize what technologies, what capabilities, what resources are there is still so critical. Then we have the second industrial revolution, the sort of modern manufacturing, cars and automobiles and planes and all sorts of other things, all the electronics that we've come to know, TVs and so forth and so on. Now, those have become more ubiquitous, whether we're talking about inner cities around the world or second-tier cities or small towns. But nonetheless, there is still an unequal distribution of even the technologies and capabilities of the second industrial revolution. When we think about the third industrial revolution, it's really the rise of the internet and what we're using to reach out to all of you through this incredible Najafi 100 Million Learners program, a digital capability, online education, on demand in 40 different languages. But that is not accessible to all. We know that. We know there's still a huge digital divide around the world. And so we need to close that gap and make that third industrial revolution available, and the technologies and capabilities and the opportunities of that available to the vastly more numbers of people around the world. And again, that requires us to become better leaders, to spread leadership more broadly, and have everyday leadership in everything that happens in our world, from the very bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, if I could put it that way. And then we do have this fourth industrial revolution. And what is this fourth industrial revolution? Well, it's really 12 technologies that are really revolutionizing, disrupting. Many people talk about disruptive innovations, and that ranges from AR and VR, the 3D printing, advanced materials, blockchain, battery and energy storage as we try to move to an all electric vehicle economy, for example, EV economy, space technologies of all kinds that in fact, interact with biotech innovations, lots of things that are happening that are at the intersections of these technologies, artificial intelligence and automation. These are all interacting in really complex and interesting ways, and that's what makes this fourth industrial revolution even more transformative in speed and velocity and extent and capabilities. And there's no reason why, going back to whether you're at one of the frontier global cities on the planet, at the heart of the fourth industrial revolution, at the frontier, the vanguard of the fourth industrial revolution, or you're in a remote area somewhere in our very small, increasingly small and fragile planet, that one cannot exercise and utilize and deploy these technologies because they're becoming more available, less costly, more accessible. And part of our journey in terms of global leadership and personal development in this Najafi 100 Million Learners Initiative is to create more access for everyone into not only the first, second, and third industrial revolution capabilities and opportunities and technologies, but the fourth industrial revolution, which again is moving fast and only accelerated during the pandemic that we've all been experiencing.